Welcome back to the Legacy Podcast. My name is Olisya Grant, co-founder of Matrix Legacy, Inc. We are back for episode number 47. This is the show where we create a blueprint for success. We look for ways to create generational wealth, and we break those chains of a poverty mindset. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, welcome. We are nearing the end of our journey to 52. When we first started this podcast, the goal was, can we be consistent for a solid year? And we are just around the bend. So if you're just joining us, you picked a great time because I feel like we're just getting heated up. And if you've been here from the beginning, you know how much I appreciate every moment that you spend with me. So thank you all for being here. If you're enjoying this content and there's something that you would like to hear about in the last couple episodes, not to say this is the end of the podcast, because I don't think that it is. However, I'm not 1,000% sure on which angle I want to take. For those of you who don't know, I am expecting a bundle of joy. My husband and I are expecting a little baby in a few months, and a few of our other business ventures are taking priority. However, I do feel like there's a way to adjust and fit this in. I really do love this time. It's really amazing to me that I can just speak transparently and without worry about judgment in terms of where I am in my journey, because it's helping everybody else along in theirs, or it's just allowing us to exchange information. So if you guys had any ideas we've got 5 more episodes after this one. So if there was anything that you wanted to hear, feel free to contribute your ideas and also share this with a friend. So today's episode is a note to self. But also, I want to leave you guys, y'all the feedback I've been getting is that you really like when I leave tips. So what I want to do this week is leave 5 tips or 5 ideas that you can use all around the idea of balance and the ideas of rewarding ourselves. And the reason I want to go there is because we talk a lot about building wealth and protecting your energy and making sure that every area of your life is in check. Now, what happens if we take that even just a little bit overboard is we get stuck in the hustle and we forget about the why, the reason why we're working so hard, or the reason why we're really constantly looking for ways to maintain and level up. And then the journey no longer becomes fun or exciting anymore. It really starts to feel like a chore. And one of the reasons that I've noticed anyways is just because we put all this almost unrealistic pressure on ourselves to meet certain deadlines. And they say you overestimate what you can do in a day and you underestimate what you could do in a year. And that is absolutely true to me. There was a time when I would have like 30 things on my to-do list and just feeling constantly overwhelmed, feeling like I couldn't catch up. Both when I was working my corporate job and as an entrepreneur, I carried those bad habits over with me. And so it's taken some time to kind of readjust and rebalance and understand that the only way that you really make it through and that you're enjoying the journey is to make sure that there is a balance and to make sure that you're putting rewards for yourself on the way there. And so I can't remember where I read this, but I was told a while ago, you got 24 hours in a day. It's supposed to be 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play, and 8 hours of sleep. Now, obviously, we know that that's not, that is just not going to work, especially in today's day and age. I know my work schedule went from 8 hours to 10 hours to 12, sometimes plus hours, and then your play gets cut short because you're just using whatever leftover energy you have from going through the day and giving your best effort at work, and then you sleep with whatever time is left, and then you just rinse and repeat over and over, and you just get stuck in this cycle. So this goes for my entrepreneurs, this goes for my 9-to-5ers, this goes for my hustlers who are really doing both and all of the above. This is why we have this platform, is to really talk about how do we create wealth in every area of our life without being overwhelmed. The goal here is to create a wealthy life when it comes to our health, when it comes to our relationships, our faith, our experiences, our personal development, and then the wealth trickles into our bank account by default. So really, I just want to hop right in. This is not going to be a long one at all, but these are 5 things that I've had to learn and I'm currently working through as I speak about it in order to make sure that I find that balance and I make space to reward myself and don't get so caught up in the hustle that I forget what it's for. For those of you who know me or have been following me on this journey, you know I am a big family person. And that's one of the reasons I had to leave the corporate world, is I realized if what I'm doing is for my family, to spend more time with my family, give more to them, however, they get whatever's left over at the end of the day because I'm doing something that I don't enjoy. Yes, it's paying the bills, and yes, it looks really great on paper. But if I'm a little less patient and I don't have as much energy to go out and do all these fun things on the weekend because I've given everything I've got during the week, it just didn't make sense to me. And that's because there was no balance. I was working so hard to make sure the finances were in check. But the reason I wanted the finances to be in check was so that I could love on my family more and I could experience and have more time with them. But it was very lopsided. And so I really had to make that transition. So let's just hop right in. These are the 5 things that you can do to create balance in your life as you're building wealth. So the first one is to compartmentalize and to prioritize. Now, by compartmentalize, what I mean is, think if you have like a drawer or a shelf, and on each shelf you've got a task or an area of your life that you need to cater to. And you have to be able to chunk out actual time and space, like create the right environment and create a time frame for you to really focus and dedicate to one thing. I'm the type of person who says, oh, I'm a great multitasker. So yeah, I can look at the stock market and I could be messaging prospects and I can be organizing all of these files all at once. But what happens is a little bit of attention goes here, a little more gets sprinkled over there, and whatever's left gets sprinkled over there. And I look up a few hours later and I'm like, well, it looks like I haven't done anything, even though I really have. I've done a lot of things, but because I didn't focus in on one area, compartmentalize and put things into different time frames and different spaces so that I could focus and give that energy, well, it really looks like a half-ass effort in each. Even if I'm giving what I think is my best, I'm not, because I've spread myself too thin. So you've got to be able to break things down into time frames where you're saying, I am only going to focus on this, so you don't become overwhelmed. And this fits right along the lines with prioritization. You really have to realize that things in our life take place in seasons, in time segments, and it's up to us to decide what's more important. So everything is connected, right? If we're not healthy, then we are not going to be productive on our jobs, and we're not going to be able to show up properly for our friends. If we're not working in terms of personal development, well, that might slow down the growth in your business, and that might cause the people around you who are choosing to grow to separate from you because you've decided to stay stagnant and you haven't been focusing on your personal development. But again, this goes back to the compartmentalization. You can't focus on all of these things at once. You have to realize the time and season. Is this the season where I prioritize my health and wellness? Which means that, maybe I missed out on a cocktail night with the girls, but that's because I need to prioritize my self-care. If this is the season where I really get my finances right, okay, well, maybe this is the time that I cut back on how much Netflix I'm watching and, those extra just because hours that I'm sleeping in because I want to pick up a few extra hours to get my finances in order. If my marriage is struggling or, I've lost touch with family members and friends, okay, maybe this is the season where I make sure that first thing in the morning or first thing before I take any prospect calls or whatever that looks like, I'm making a call to my family. You have to realize that each of these things are connected, but each of these things have a time and space. So the first tip is recognize what season you're in, prioritize and place things in time segments, and realize that you can only focus on one thing, really focus on one thing at a time. And all of these things are interdependent. They're all important. And so you have to fit them in terms of priority into your space and into your life. The second tip I would give, and this one is really for myself because there was a time, exactly how I said before, I would have like 30 things on my to-do list. And by the end of the day, I'm exhausted and it looks like I only crossed off 2 or 3. And it's because I'm jumping around trying to touch each one of the 30 things on the list that nothing ends up getting done. What I've learned is you pick a top 3. For some people, it's going to be a top 5. And that top 3 or that top 5 is, if nothing else gets done today, these 3 things or these 5 things need to get done. That way it's very tangible and you can break it down into bite sizes and you don't feel so overwhelmed. And every single day you can feel accomplished, and every single day you can give yourself little mini rewards for actually completing what you set out to do. Now, what happens is sometimes you're going to see that some of your things on your top 3 or your top 5 continue to repeat themselves, and you've got to do them every single day. Well, those things might just become pillars and might become habits that you no longer have to write on your to-do list, because it's just become a part of your lifestyle, become a part of your routine. So then you can move on and prioritize something else. An example I can think of is, I absolutely love talking to my mom. That is absolutely one of my best friends. But the thing was, I would get so caught up in work, sometimes I just would forget to call her. Not that I wasn't thinking about her, but I would just say, okay, as soon as I'm done this, then I'll call my mom. Okay, now this just came up, so let me do this and then I'll call her. And it would just keep getting pushed off until it's too late. And then I say, okay, I'm gonna call her tomorrow. So what I would do is I would put it on my top 3 list or my top 5 list until I was able to just become a part of my routine. While I eat breakfast, I call my mother so we could have a conversation. We could have breakfast together over FaceTime. And then I no longer had to write it on my to-do list because it just became a part of my routine. And so that was me catering to the relationship side of my life, and it was something that just became a habit. I no longer had to write it on my to-do list. And so this tip actually runs right into the third one, which is create built-in and auto habits. The whole idea, and if we just look at the evolution of how everything is moving, is how do we be more efficient? How do we get things done faster and with less effort? And so the less we have to think about something or dig for something or find the resources that we need, the more likely we are to get things done. So if one of your goals is to read, if your library and your bookshelf is on a completely different floor and tucked away in a corner in a storage room or whatever it looks like, and you want to read before bed, well, you're sleepy. You're not about to take that extra hike and go out of your way to get the book. You're just going straight to bed. So why don't you make it easier for yourself and just leave the book right on your pillow? That's a whole lot more efficient. It's something small, but it's a lot more efficient, and you're much more likely to pick up that book and read for maybe 15 minutes before you go to sleep for the night. If your goal is you want to start working more on your faith or your spirituality or your gratitude, but you don't have time, or you somehow can't fit it in the schedule to take out your journal or even pause for a moment and just give gratitude, well, maybe as soon as you wake up in the morning, before you even get out of bed, but as soon as you hit the alarm clock, that alarm triggers your mind to say, okay, I'm grateful that I woke up this morning. And maybe then again, right before you have your coffee or during your coffee, whatever it is that you do in the morning while you're brushing your teeth, just fit it in with things that you have going on anyways, and just stack it on top. This is another thing I learned from Atomic Habits, is habit stacking, where you stack the thing that you are already doing with the thing that you need to do. And the final example, if you're trying to drink more water and you're, increase your water intake to get your health on. If you're not one of those people who want to carry around the big jug, keep water bottles in different places in your house, one in the office, one in the car, and make sure that you constantly have them filled up. That way you don't have to go out of your way and you don't end up reaching for the juice, because your water is just there. So looking for ways to build in habits and create efficiencies for yourself is definitely a way that you're going to be able to create that balance. Number 4 is reward yourself. So yes, work hard, but you have to find ways to enjoy the journey. So always have something that you're working towards, and make sure you're set up in a position where you don't have to feel guilty about rewarding yourself, because you already set the game plan and said, if I get X, Y, and Z done, then this means I can reward myself with some guilt-free TV time, with a cheat day, with sleeping in a few hours, by taking a break. If I've got my top 5 list, every time I finish one of the tasks on the list, well, now I've got 15 minutes or 20 minutes to do whatever it is that I want with my time without feeling guilty about it. So always putting something in place that you can work towards is definitely how you're going to find that balance, and how you make the journey enjoyable. The destination, of course, completing the goal is important, but if you can't enjoy the time in between while you're trying to get there, well, then you're going to spend your whole life, the majority of your life anyways, miserable, and then you just have those tiny little pockets of excitement once you reach your goal. But this whole thing is about the journey, and what happens between point A and point B is often much more important than actually arriving at point B. So setting up little rewards for yourself, whatever really makes you happy, that you're willing to work towards and you're willing to fight for, that'll just make it a whole lot more enjoyable for you and for everybody around you, really. Then the fifth thing is accountability. Find a partner or a group of people who are serious about their goals as well, or on a similar mission as you. And you can have different groups for different things. If you're focusing right now on your health and wellness, well, there's a ton of groups now, especially now through all these platforms, all these social media platforms that we have. People are looking for community and people are looking for support. So you'll be able to find maybe a group that works out in the morning if that's what you're trying to do, or a team that holds them accountable in terms of, hey, what'd you eat for breakfast? Send a picture in this group chat so we can keep each other accountable in terms of the things that we're eating and fueling our bodies with. Or you join a book club to make sure that you're meeting your reading goals for the month, etc. So really having those individuals or those groups where you can check in, it's the community is the most important part. Trying to do it all by yourself is where we start getting flustered and frustrated. And again, that's when the journey is not enjoyable, when you're having to do it on your own. But you don't have to, because there are people out there looking to do the same things that you are. You just have to be willing to put yourself out there and find them and create those accountability groups for yourself. So those are just a few tips that I have in terms of creating balance, creating rewards for yourself. And just a reminder not to get so caught up in the hustle of things that we forget about the reason why we're hustling in the first place. So just briefly, the first one was compartmentalize and prioritize. Second one was create a top 3 or a top 5 list, no more than that. Number 3 was start creating built-in habits. Look for ways to make your daily processes more efficient. Reward yourself. Make sure you have something that you're working towards in little increments. And then number 5 is find an accountability group or groups or individuals to help you stay on track. So that is all I've got for the day, guys. I do hope that helps somebody. I know it definitely helped me seeing it written out on paper and reminding myself about the reason why. The reason why is much more important than the what and the how of what we're doing. So make sure that you stay rooted in that. If you are enjoying this content, you already know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, leave a review. Definitely send this to a friend. In the meantime, you can download the Matrix Legacy app if you haven't already. We send out daily motivational and inspirational quotes. We have all of the podcasts listed there as well, and you can really stay up to date with all of the Matrix Legacy content that we have on the rise. Outside of that, I will be here next week with another building block for success. Until next time, let's build a legacy.